Hello and welcome to Tigers by the Fire, a podcast out of Holy Cross High School about World War II discussions and stories. This is episode 8 of season 4, and this episode will be about Operation Double Cross, a covert operation to discover and turn over Nazi spies by the British during World War II. It'll also talk a little bit about the spying operations involved in the D-Day landings. With me are Cohen.
Hey, I'm Cohen.
Blake.
Hello.
And Noah.
I'm No Reps.
And as we start this episode, I think one of the cool parts about this, and again, the interesting part about this whole season of podcasts is we've had some things that have been really deep, really dark, and then this one I think gives you a really cool and not well-known part about the war, and that is how British spying and counter-spying really impacted the D-Day landings and the war as a whole. So I'm going to turn it over to Noah to start us off, and then we'll get rolling.
So first we want to talk about just the basics of it. Operation Double Cross was a secretive operation with the use of spies. All the spies were from Germany. Many of the spies were captured by the MI5, which was a section from the British. MI5 is the British Security Intelligence Agency. MI5 would protect the UK from any threats to British and national security. MI5 was capturing the German agents. They did this by knowing where and when the Germans were. The British broke the Enigma code, I think in the 1930s, which helped them a lot. Also, the spies that Germany were sending to Britain were poorly trained. In Germany, the spies were not trained very well and I guess lacked the resources to do that. German spies were being captured as early as 1940. The spies were given the choice to either be a double agent or they were put to death. Many chose to be a double agent.
Yeah, the Enigma code's broken in the early 40s. They're trying to in the 30s, and the Poles actually sneak out an Enigma machine. But that's going to be a whole other thing on how they break that. But yeah, they have the ability to uncover all of these German agents inside of Great Britain, and by all accounts, they get pretty much all of them, which is pretty neat. And you're right, they give them some of them they don't actually ever tell they've uncovered. They just feed them false information. Mm-hmm. But the ones that they do arrest, they basically give them the option of either being in jail, put to death for espionage, or feed the Germans false information. And it's not always false information. A lot of times it's going to be real information that they're giving them just way too late. And that's a big way to do it.
Just like to add on to that, Operation Fortitude, which is like the big thing that we're talking about, they lead a lot of misinformation, which misleads the Germans' intelligence a lot.
Yeah. Fortitude centers around D-Day and where the landing is going to take place, and so they feed to get the Germans on their side. They are the Germans thinking they're spying is they feed them a lot of real information that just comes in just a day late or just a couple hours late, and so the Germans think they have what they really don't have. So it's pretty neat. So let's talk about some of these agents that you guys.
Yeah, so we're talking about the most popular agents. First, we want to talk about the chief of the different agents. His name was Thomas Argley, Tar Robinson. He was the chief of the branch of MI5 that was involved with the Double Cross agents. He was a Seaforth Highlander before he was inducted into the MI5, which is just a part of the British Army regiment. He joined MI5 in 1933. The second person is Eddie Chapman. Before he was a spy, he was a professional criminal. He was a very talented safecracker. He was imprisoned by the German army. He was hired as a spy for Germany after he was imprisoned. He parachuted into England, where he was captured by MI5. His codename was Zigzag. He got this for his troubled past, being a criminal. The third person is Dusko Popov. He was a wealthy businessman and lawyer. He loved to gamble and buy expensive cars. He was said to be a womanizer. Before the war, he had a strong anti-Nazi beliefs, which many of the people captured by the British were anti-Nazi. Many of the spies. The Germans did not check this, which led to him becoming a double agent. His codename was Tricycle, and because he got this because he was said to be involved with at least 2 women at a time. This is the possible role model for James Bond, which I thought was very interesting. The fourth person is Lily Sergeyev. She is an agent that was the closest to destroying the operation. Her codename was Treasure. She got this for, ironically, to be a nightmare to deal with. She had a dog that couldn't go with her while she was being sending misinformation. The dog had to be left behind, and then she stopped sending messages to the British because of this. Her dog would die, and she thought the British killed her dog. Weeks before the invasion, Lily would signal to a German officer, and she got captured, which have ruined the entire operation reported. She did go through with the threat. She didn't go through with the threat, but it could have been tragic for the whole operation. Then we just got this information from the World War II website.
All right. Yeah, sounds almost like John Wick with the dog. So you have these different agents, all with different pasts that the Germans, some are British, some are German, that they're trying to spy on each other with, and obviously this is going to lead to the misinformation campaign that Blake is going to talk about with the operations.
Yeah, so I picked this part of the section because I found it interesting, like how they would misinformation to Germans and stuff, and what they would use to do it. So I just start off they first, in the beginning of the war, they would start using secret writing, and some of those letters would be caught by a censorship postal service, and eventually they went from the letters to a wireless technology, and then that would go to a transmission, and those transmissions would go from one agent to another, and eventually they would be sent to the main MI5 headquarters, and I just found all that interesting because the spying behind German lines and stuff. And the part I liked was when Noah said how they would capture German agents, and they would say, "Do you want to pledge to the British intelligence or be killed?" And many would take the job offer as a double agent, and they would pledge to the British intelligence. All of those agents were given code names, and their real names were not given. And so with these double agents, the British started a network of officers who were in control of the double agents. They would communicate by using coded messages that were sent using radio transmissions and dead letter drops. And I didn't know what a dead letter drop was when I was reading about it, so I'll put it in there. It's a method of espionage tradecraft used to pass items or information between two individuals using a secret location. And so with all that, the misinformation part, the double agents provided the Germans with false information, false about their military plans, operations, and strategies. Their main goal was to lead German resources away from the Germans and get the attention off of Allied forces. So with all that, I put in the Operation Bodyguard part because we were talking about the D-Day landings and all that in Normandy, because how they misled the Germans to go to Norway and make them wait to set troops in Normandy. So the double agents convinced the Germans that it would occur at Pas de Calais.
Calais. Pas de Calais, rather than Normandy. So on March 26, 1944, Churchill warned that secrecy was crucial, and if the Germans had the right information at the right time, their firepower and numerical superiority could drive the invading army back into the sea. The British deception worked so well that the Germans were unaware of events in the early hours of the invasion, which made them wait to send troops in Normandy. And I just put Operation Bodyguard in there because it was the most significant event that the Operation Double Cross was under. Those are all really good points, because the big thing with D-Day is that you're landing 130,000 soldiers on beaches about 12 miles in length. And so if the Germans are able to put tank divisions there, or artillery, or just a lot of soldiers, we really can't land those soldiers there. It's going to be almost impossible. And in the past, amphibious invasions to highly fortified positions have been disasters. And Churchill was very nervous about this. And so there's three kind of fake locations that they promote. The two that are the most famous, one is Norway, and actually Churchill did actually want to invade Norway. So it's what do we say? Like Goebbels used to say, the best lie always has the truth. Well, the truth was, Churchill had talked about invading Norway for years, and so that was part of it. And then the Pas de Calais, if you look at a map of France or of Europe, it's the shortest distance between England and France. It's very, very short, and it makes for a really good landing site. One American general wanted to land there, and that was George Patton, who won't actually be in charge of anything on D-Day, and he'll actually be given a fake army that they send out fake radio messages and everything else, and everything looks like he's going to Calais. And Calais is heavily defended by the Germans. And to your point, it's not just that they couldn't move soldiers into Normandy reinforcements on the first day. They take 2 weeks to move soldiers because Hitler still believes a week after the invasion that another one's going to happen in Calais. And so that's how well it worked. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. I think that's it for me. I think we'll pass it to Cohen.
All right, in this section, I will be talking about Operation Outside the UK, and I would like to begin with saying that many countries used a spy system at this time, both Ally and Axis countries, and they all used different types of systems of operations different from any other country. So I would like to start off with the Soviet Union. They used two different types of organizations: the People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs, short for NKVD, and Main Intelligence Agency, short for GRU. These organizations played a pivotal role by gathering information and supplying misleading information to the Axis powers. Soviet spies operated in German-occupied territories and neutral countries. The next country I'll be talking about is the United States. Their spy system was called the Office of Strategic Services, short for the OSS. It was led by William J. Donovan and was a precursor for the Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA. The OSS conducted espionage, sabotage, and intelligence analysis in various parts of the war, and also worked closely with resistance movements in occupied Europe, providing support and coordination for their activities.
One thing that's interesting about the OSS is it's almost completely designed after the British program. The British had the best spy network, I think, in the world at the time. You could argue the Soviets might have just as good as the British because they had spies everywhere, including the Manhattan Project. So they're really good. But the British one, the Americans model everything after it, and that's where the CIA actually, MI5 and all that stuff, that the CIA pretty much models their whole infrastructure and their training after it. So I just wanted to interrupt, sorry.
Okay, the next country is Germany, and they use an intelligence agency called Abwehr. And one thing about Abwehr was it wasn't as effective as some Allied agencies due to internal conflicts at the time during the war.
And to elaborate on that for you, the problem with Germany's system is that you have competing agencies. Remember when we talked about Germany at the beginning of the year, we talked about how the SS did not always work in tandem with the army very well. Well, the SS has its own espionage. Mm-hmm. It does not work well with Abwehr, and it does not work well with the intelligence networks that are set up by the Gestapo. So Hitler almost creates competing agencies. And so because of that, none of them have the money and funding needed to do this. And that's one of the reasons why they fail.
Okay, and the last country I'll be talking about is Japan. And Japan ran their intelligence functions through their military police called Kempeitai. They were involved in counterintelligence activities and the suppression of dissent within occupied territories, and they conducted their operations in various Asian and Pacific regions, collecting intelligence on Allied activities. And as a conclusion of this section, I would like to note that countries like Switzerland and Sweden became popular neutral sites that many countries operated in, and then in occupied countries, resistance movements often operated in secrecy, gathering intelligence and engaging in sabotage against the occupying forces. These movements played a critical role in supporting the Allies.
Yeah, and so a lot of times, Spain would probably also be another one that you would throw in there too. Both British and German spies end up escaping to Spain at various times. And so I think that's interesting. The Japanese aspect of intelligence that you're bringing up is actually very akin to the Gestapo. They're doing very similar things to what the Gestapo does in occupied Europe, where they're spying on activities of rebellion. They're spying on local people, like the Gestapo spied on Germans, and so very similar to that. Japan does not have a very good outward intelligence service, and it's just something they're just not as good as. But the Russians, the UK, obviously, and the United States all focus heavily on that stuff. So very good.
Now we're going to talk about the Operation 4-2 and D-Day landings. Operation 4-2 was a crucial part for the deception strategy during World War II. This led up to the D-Day landings on June 6, 1944. Their main objective in the operation was to lead German high command about their location and timing of the Allied invasion of Western Europe, fictional scenarios, and developing a variety of deception tactics. There's two North and South 4-2 plans. I'm going to pass it to Blake for the 4-2 North.
So 4-2 North aimed to convince German allies that they were planning an invasion on Norway, which I kind of went over a little bit. And then the Allies created a fictional First United States Army Group, the FUSAG. It was led by George S. Patton. It was located in southeastern England, and their goal was to divert German attention away from the invasion site. And then they have another one, 4-2 South, focused on reinforcing the idea that the main Allied invasion would take place in the Pas-de-Calais region of France. Pas-de-Calais of France. And then the FUSAG, led by Patton, used various deception techniques to make it appear as the force was preparing an invasion on France.
So some of the cool techniques they used, and we'll look at pictures of this later in the year, is they created these inflatable vehicles, and so they had tanks that they're just balloons, but they would let the Germans fly over those areas. So they would set up the anti-aircraft stuff or the patrols, and they would funnel the Germans to fly over where Patton's fake army was, and what they would see were soldiers marching, a lot of which were POWs, and they would see a lot of like tanks on the ground, and they would go on the ground at night and they would make tread marks using essentially rollers that would make it look like tread marks, and it was just dye. And then these tanks, there's pictures of like 3 soldiers picking them up and carrying them across. They're just balloons, and they had jeeps like that and everything else. And so a whole fake army, and the Germans are being spoon-fed the information. And, of course, they love Patton. Patton's like the most famous American general. So in their mind, he's the guy who was going to lead the invasion, even though he's not even involved at all. So that one, I just wanted to interrupt and give you the examples of what they were doing.
Yeah, I did they put like dummy equipment out there, and they used like fake radio traffic. I thought that was kind of funny.
A lot of fake radio traffic. That's what's kind of neat, is they're just throwing out orders the whole time, and they're not even coded, which makes it like very obvious. If you're the Germans, you would think that they would figure this out. Why do you guys think the Germans don't? I mean, you're getting all this stuff spoon-fed to you, and it's almost coming too easy. So why don't the Germans get suspicious of this? Because they never do.
Just I don't think they never saw it coming. Like, none of the Germans were like worried about it, and
yeah.
I don't think they were smart enough.
Yeah, I think they were just oblivious to.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say it's probably a pretty well educated country, like very smart, intelligence-wise. But why is it that they can't, grasp that they're being duped here? Obviously, they're fooled. You're right, and yeah, they don't see it coming. But why do you think they are just, I guess, willing to just take all of this very easy information as opposed to real intelligence you have to kind of work for?
Well, I feel like it goes back to like Hitler, kind of.
Okay.
Because many of the people around him were yes men, and if Hitler, if he didn't see it coming, I don't think many people would stand up to him and say, we're being fools.
So, and that's actually a good point, because there are going to be some generals, and Rommel, who's in charge of defending Normandy, him and Hans Guderian, they both ask, or not Hans Guderian, Rumstead, they both ask for reinforcements repeatedly, and they're like, we think it's going to come here, and they're told no. Then what do we just say? All of the agencies in Germany are competing against each other. Mm-hmm. So when they get easy information, they're like, here's what we have. And so a lot of historians chalk it up to some hubris, like they're a little egotistical. The whole idea of you believe your own propaganda, like the British are selfish and stupid, the Americans are racially impure, and we're the master race, and so you can't fool the master race. And so it's a weird phenomenon that they just for whatever reason, I mean, they invented the hardest code to break in the war, which is the Enigma code, and they can't comprehend that we're giving them fake information that's not even coded. And we also broke the Enigma code, which is a whole nother thing. And do you guys know what the phrase is that helped us break the Enigma code?
I watched the movie.
So you watched the Imitation Game? It's Hail Hitler.
Yeah.
They would start the first message off every morning with Hail Hitler, and they use that to create essentially the cipher to help break it each morning.
Wasn't it something with weather too?
Yeah. It was a weather report, but it would still end with Hail Hitler. And so that allowed them, with this giant supercomputer they built. I say supercomputer, it's just a giant computer that has less power than like your watch. But it back then it was a supercomputer, and they were able to break it and get information minute by minute. So it was pretty impressive. And so what do we have? We still have South, 42 South?
No successes.
No
successes.
I think I did South.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did Pas-de-Calais.
All right, so Fortitude had many successes, starting off with it helped out in the D-Day landings by, creating confusion with the Germans, and it also helped keep German forces spread out and confused about the Allies' true intentions. The Germans kept most of their troops in Pas-de-Calais even after Normandy.
Pas-de-Calais. You guys get a D in French.
And this confusion contributed to the successes of the D-Day landings.
That's going to wrap our.
I'll leave you guys with this. So the intelligence part of the D-Day landings. What's interesting, and a historian told me this. He's like, we don't know how successful it was or how much it mattered because there's no counter comparison. It worked because the D-Day landings worked. If the D-Day landings had failed, we'd be like, oh, the intelligence failed. But we do know that it held off the Germans from moving most of their tank divisions in France into Normandy. I mean, we're talking a couple of weeks before they really reinforced that area, and that allowed the Allies to land, like we said, on D-Day alone over 130,000 soldiers with fairly small casualties. D-Day is violent, but the death toll is not nearly as high as we would think. And most of that is on Omaha Beach, where Americans landed in just a horrible situation that we'll get to on another day and in class. But highly successful, and one of the cooler parts of the story. And I want to say they did make a series. I think BBC made a series about Double Cross and the agents and everything else. The other movie that we mentioned, Noah mentioned, it was The Imitation Game, which is about Alan Turing breaking the Enigma code. Really cool movie as well. And you guys there was a book you guys used for some of your research too. It was
it's the Double Cross System by J.C. Masterman.
Yeah, so if you're interested in that, the Double Cross System by J.C. Masterman, good book. And if you're interested in this stuff, there's a lot of material on it because the British, once they got about 20 years after the war, they documented all this stuff. But do you guys have anything left to add, Cohen?
Nope.
Blake?
That I just want to say the British intelligence was I think they were superior because I didn't know about none of this until we picked it, and then when we learned about the Battle of Britain and how they would call out the planes in 30 seconds, under 30 seconds they would have them ready to go and stuff.
Yep.
I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, and for the Battle of Britain part, that part's amazing. How they're able to just, with the radar system they have set up, plus the radios being tapped and everything else, they're able to identify what German planes are there, how many are there, and they can scramble fighters from different areas based off of triangular radar, which is kind of cool. No.
I think we're done. I think I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you. This was the end of our first semester worth of episodes for Tigers by the Fire. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.